It's been a while since we've done a rebuild video here on the FMSCOUT channel, but with their current situation, we thought Chelsea would be the perfect team to try and rebuild, purely focusing in on realistic transfers over the course of one season. In 1 year, we've got a lot of Deadwood to get rid of, contract situations to resolve, and also some players to bring in. Chelsea, of course, spent a lot of money in January and will need to sell a fair bit of talent, particularly homegrown talent, to be able to pull off any kind of major transfers. We're going to try all of that. Because we haven't done a rebuild for a while, we don't know whether to continue this series, so if you do enjoy this, make sure you go ahead and smash that like button for us to let us know that you enjoyed the content. It will also tell YouTube that you liked the video and hopefully push it out to more people, which is awesome. The rebuilds we do on this channel are one season where we really focus in on the realism of the transfers, but if you want to see more rebuilds, you can find them on my channel linked in the description, where we do 5 season-long rebuilds with a variety of different clubs. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well if you haven't already, and with that being said, it's time to rebuild Chelsea. Now, obviously we start in 2022 here. We're going to simulate the first year without doing anything, just to get us in the position of next season. It's the reason we have the editor pen up here, so that we can turn on become unsackable. So in this first season, we can just simulate it, see where Chelsea end up, and work from there. It's very unlikely we'll finish anywhere near as low as Chelsea are currently in real life, but no matter where we finish in the table, we'll imagine a situation as it is currently at Chelsea Football Club. In terms of what's in the current bank balance for us to be able to spend, the club is struggling a fair bit, and if we take a look around the squad, you'll see the biggest issue with Chelsea. It's pretty clear and it screams out to you. It's the fact you can scroll down on their squad list and do it for a fair few seconds before you get to the end. Their squad is absolutely huge, so many players in it, and that's still with some very talented players here in the development centre, like David Datro Fofana, Carney Chukwuemeka, Andre Santos, Lewis Hall, amongst many others, and there's a bunch of players on loan as well, the likes of Lukaku, Malo Gusto, who's going to be joining, Bakayoko will come back, Levi Colville, Matson, amongst many other names. Hudson-Odoi is another one there. We've got a lot of work on our hands to sort this squad out. There's also a fair few expiring contracts that we need to sort. So now it's time to forward ahead for the first year without really doing anything, see where the squad ends up, and then we'll actually start our rebuild of the club. We didn't do too well in the domestic cups, but Champions League we went all the way to a final where we were beaten by Real Madrid. So even though it was the final, they still lost to the same team that they would have lost to in real life anyway, and instead of finishing in the bottom half of the table, we have finished in 5th, which gets us a Europa League spot for next season, which is obviously way better than what Chelsea are going to have, but hopefully we can create a team that can both challenge for the title and compete in the Europa League. A lot of the work is already done for us. We just need to tweak the squad. Now, it should be noted, I am a Chelsea fan, but obviously everyone's opinions are going to be different in terms of what Chelsea need, who should be sold, so all of this is opinion based on my own end. One of the first orders of business was for me to extend Mason Mount's contract. It's something that's being talked about a lot in real life. Chelsea currently need to make some money by selling players, and the easiest way for them to do that, for it to be realised profit, is to sell academy products, because there's no initial outlay on them, and any money that they make will be classed as profit on the books. So someone like Mason Mount could be a very useful player for Chelsea to sell, but I've chosen to go down a different direction. I've tried to imagine a team that Pochettino might be taking over and the kind of formations he might deploy, and I think Mason Mount could be very, very handy. I think he's a supremely talented player, so we decided to extend his contract, but it did mean quite a few academy players needed to leave to balance the books. We'll start off with the sales, then get onto the more exciting part of the incomings, but sales are the main thing that Chelsea need right now. They need to whittle this squad down. I'll cover some of the names that don't matter as much and then get to the big players. So Baba Rahman has left here to Len for only £700,000, but at least he's off the books. Bakayoko's loan ended at Milan and we made £2.7 million selling him to Zenit in Russia. I believe there was an option in Malang Sarr's contract here to join Monaco. He was on loan there and they seem to have paid some kind of fee, £13 million, to sign him permanently, and we're certainly happy to take that money. Datro Fofana was a player that Chelsea bought in and still has plenty of promise, but there doesn't seem to be any willingness to use him in the first team right now, so he's gone out on loan to Wolves, where hopefully he'll develop well. Now, Chelsea have a lot of options in midfield. You've got the likes of Mount, Gallagher, Loftus-Cheek, all of which could potentially be sold, and then on top of that you've still got Enzo Fernandez, Kante, amongst many other names, and plenty of good young players coming through as well. And with Chelsea needing to sell players and Kovacic going into his final year of his deal at the end of the current season in real life and the start of this this season here, we decided he would be someone that could make us some cash. In real life, he's being linked to Manchester City, which obviously shows how good his qualities are, but with Chelsea needing money and his contract running low and some players that maybe suit what Chelsea are trying to do more, Kovacic is someone that I felt we could sell, and we've let him go to Manchester United, who paid a £37 million fee to sign him. With Pochettino likely to deploy a back four and Levi Colville coming back from his loan at Brighton, Chelsea have got plenty of options at the back. Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, Fofana, Badiashile and Colville as mentioned. It doesn't feel like it leaves much place for someone like Trevor Chalobah, who again is a homegrown player at Chelsea, deserves some game time. He's been fine when he has played and has proved, maybe even sometimes when he's not up to Chelsea's level, is still at least Premier League quality on most occasions. So we decided to offer him out. West Ham came in, 27 million, a really nice fee actually for Chelsea to take there. With us deciding to keep Mason Mount, I felt like it was between him and Conor Gallagher in terms of who stayed at the club, because we had to make some profit somewhere, and it was Gallagher that we decided we were going to sell. He's gone to Newcastle, he's valued at a really high fee now, but we made about £30 million from him when we offered him out. I think Chelsea would take that in real life, 30-40 million. He's being linked to the likes of Borussia Dortmund. Everton apparently had a £40 million bid rejected in January, so clearly he's a player that teams would want if Chelsea wanted to sell him, and potentially quite an easy sell, which some of these players on this list that we're selling today certainly aren't. But he's gone to Newcastle, and that's more profit for Chelsea. And the goalkeeping situation at Chelsea is a weird one. You've got two goalkeepers who have been good at different periods of their career. Edouard Mendy was brilliant when he came in, then stopped playing as well, lost some favour. Kepa, who was completely written off, came into the team. And I just feel like you don't need both of those, and even if you kept them, you'd still need an improvement, and that's one of the places we have signed someone later. But we decided we needed to sell one of Kepa or Mendy, and Mendy was the one with the most interest. He has gone to Bayern Munich. Neuer's obviously getting quite old over there, had a few injury problems, so I assume they must have thought, you know what, we'll take Mendy when I offered him out. 25 million is what we've got from him. But we didn't stop there. Hakim Ziyech clearly wanted out in January, nearly joined PSG. The deal didn't go through due to some issues on Chelsea's end of not sending the right documents, but now we've got rid of him. He's gone to Juventus for 24 million. Didn't play much for us last year when we simulated anyway, so we'll certainly take that money in. Ian Maatsen was out on loan at Burnley in the Championship this season and has done very well for them. Whether Chelsea will sell him or not, I'm not sure, but being an academy player that could be realised profit, I think Chelsea could get 20 odd million pounds for the guy. In FM's world, he didn't do that well, so we could only get 11 million pounds for him. But if we're talking about a four at the back system, Chelsea have got Cucurella and Chilwell at left back, two players that they've paid a fair bit of money for, and Chilwell especially is a very quality player, so I don't feel like Chelsea would actively push Maatsen into the team in favour of selling one of those two. So I think for that reason, whilst his stock is high, you may as well take advantage and get some cash in. Christian Pulisic is another one like Ziyech where I just think his time's up at Chelsea. I think he needs a new break as much as Chelsea do. I think he's definitely a good player and there's talent in there, but it's just not worked out over the last couple of years. As everyone always says, lockdown Pulisic was another level, but now currently when he plays he just seems so out of sorts, so we decided to offer him out. Leipzig came in, £35 million seems like a pretty good deal actually, and we kind of bit their hands off for that, took that money and ran. The fact the selling part isn't over yet shows you just how much work there is for Chelsea to do this summer, and there's a good chance they can only sell 50% of these players really in real life. It's not as easy as it is in FM to sell players. But another player that went was Ruben Loftus-Cheek, an academy product who's gone to Qatar here to Al Sadd for 5.25 million. And there's only one more sale to look at after this one, but Callum Hudson-Odoi went off on loan to Bayer Leverkusen, did pretty well, came back here and doesn't really have too much of a place in Chelsea's team. I feel like once they signed someone like Madueke, it was kind of the indication to me that Chelsea weren't ever going to use Hudson-Odoi again. Maybe under a new manager that will change. There's a good player in there, but I think he needs a fresh start away from Chelsea, and Dortmund came in here, which could be a good move from him in real life if it ever happened, and we've taken £23 million for the young Englishman. And the final one was a controversial sale, I suppose. There'll be a lot of Chelsea fans that think they should just put the water under the bridge with Romelu Lukaku, let him come back and use him because they're crying out for a striker. Some fans that could never forgive him, and some like me that are a bit in between. I don't really think we should let him just come back in the team and start playing, but at the same time, if he comes in and scores a few goals, I'm pretty sure everybody would love him again. Whether Chelsea start with a fresh start in real life, I'm not sure. Here though, we bought him back from his loan deal and we had an option of selling him to Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, so we've decided to let him go to Bayern for a very small fee of 24 million, a huge loss. Even though Kepa's been much better than he has in recent years, when he comes into Chelsea's team, there's still an air of a bit of a worry about him. He can make the odd mistake here and there, and even though he's a good shot stopper on occasion, he does make the odd squad error. I don't think he's the man for Chelsea long term. With the other positions in this video, I'm going to show the other options I looked at, but for me here, there was one person I wanted, Diogo Costa. Now, I think he'd be a phenomenal goalkeeper for any club in real life, super consistent, very much a modern day goalkeeper with the way that he's able to distribute the ball, good when it comes to the actual goalkeeping side of things as well. Plenty of caps for Portugal, and he's going to get more over the years. I just feel like it's a no-brainer, really. We paid his release clause, which was £65 million. He's came in as our goalkeeper. Even though people say Chelsea can't spend much money at the minute after everything they spent in January, realistically, if they sell enough talent, they'll be able to reinvest, and that's what we did here. Diogo Costa comes in as our long-term goalkeeping option. Currently, with Chelsea, Enzo Fernandez is often being deployed in a position where a lot of Chelsea fans don't want to see him be. He's often this player that takes the ball off the defence and has to progress it, but a lot of fans want to see him doing what he did so well for Argentina in the World Cup, carrying the ball forward and creating those passes in the final third of the pitch, and for that reason, it's pretty commonly known that most people assume Chelsea needs some kind of out-and-out defensive midfielder. There's a lot of people saying Declan Rice would be the right player to go for, and he's someone in real life that I think Chelsea should go for, but I'll show you why we didn't in this save. But our next target, outside of a goalkeeper, was this number 6 position, the defensive midfielder. Now, Declan Rice was not a possibility in this save because in January, he had gone to Real Madrid, but for me, as a Chelsea fan, I feel like he's the man we should go for. A lot of people say it's English bias and whatnot. I just think he's perfect at that job. He's a leader as well. Arguably, he might not want to join Chelsea now, even though years ago it looked like that was the destination for him eventually. Because we're not finishing in the Champions League spots, if he doesn't believe in the project, maybe he'll go to the likes of Arsenal or Manchester United, who knows. But I just think Declan Rice is exactly what Chelsea could need to free up Enzo Fernandez and also offer some support in front of the defence and give us that much needed leadership that the side needs. West Ham are probably getting to the point this summer where it's going to be about time they need to sell. They might prove us wrong, but he was a target. We just couldn't get him in this save. We also looked at Ibrahim Sangare here of PSV, someone that's bound to get a move at some point to a top 5 European league and arguably to a pretty major club. He's someone that's going to be perfect at sitting in front of a defence, sweeping up and tackling, and it's something that will allow our midfield players to flourish, but I didn't go for him. Our other target was Florentino Luis, the Portuguese international who plays for Benfica out in the Portuguese divisions, but I just thought he wasn't the man for us. Looks like Man U might go for him here, but we've gone for someone else, and it's someone Chelsea were linked to in real life and could still potentially go for, and that is Ajax's Mexican midfielder Edson Alvarez, who nearly joined Chelsea last summer, I believe, but I think he'd be a great player in terms of breaking up play and being able to knock the ball on to someone like Enzo, someone like Mason Mount, someone in those midfield areas to actually progress it in a further part of the pitch. You've seen what a really strong defensive midfielder can do for a team like Manchester United when they got Casemiro. It was a long time ago since Chelsea won the league, but when they did, they had the Nemanja Matic there that allowed all the other players to flourish alongside him. I feel like we need that kind of player, so we've gone for the tough tackling Mexican Edson Alvarez, £33 million from Ajax. Hopefully, he can be the man to help our team. And then we come to the obvious position that Chelsea need to improve, somebody to score goals. I'll go through a list of my potential targets here, but obviously I said I'd keep this realistic, and for that reason we didn't go for Harry Kane. Even though I think he will leave this summer, I think he'll go to Manchester United. I think he wants to stay in the Premier League to break that record. I don't think he'll stay at Tottenham, particularly if they don't qualify for Champions League football, which it looks like they won't. Man U seems to be the ideal destination, but if Chelsea are really after someone who can score goals in the Premier League, proven, I mean, I don't think they'd go wrong with Harry Kane. Obviously, there's a Tottenham-Chelsea rivalry there. But in a dream world, this is the kind of player Chelsea could go for this summer. But one of the more prominent names that's being knocked around as Chelsea's next forward was Victor Osimhen, someone who supposedly used to be a Chelsea fan, or maybe he still is, and is doing incredible for Napoli this season. And he's one of the hottest prospects in world football, a physically dominant striker who could answer Chelsea's problems of scoring goals. But my argument with this would be, one, he's a lot of money, and I'm not sure how much Chelsea are going to spend this summer. But two, I feel like Chelsea just needs someone who can prove they've scored in the Premier League. They've had too many issues where they've signed players that look great abroad, brought them into the Premier League, and it's not quite worked out. So I've decided to take my aim somewhere else when I'm looking for a striker for our Chelsea side, and it's not going to be Osimhen, nor is Juventus's big man Dusan up top. I think he's a great striker. I'm sure he'll go on to do great, but I'm just not sure he's the one that Chelsea need right now. So I started to look closer to home, strikers who can score in the Premier League, who could be available and willing to take that theoretical step up to Chelsea. I know you could argue here someone like Mitrovic, Fulham are higher in the table than Chelsea, but overall as a club and what they'll do over the next 10 years or so, you'd assume that would be the step up. But I didn't go for Mitrovic. As good as I think he could be at just being the man who knocks the ball into the back of the net, I think the aggression problems are a bit too much. Maybe a Diego Costa regen for Chelsea, but we're not going to go for Mitro. Instead, the player I've gone for is Brentford's Ivan Toney, who this summer could potentially move to a bigger club. I know he's being linked to the likes of Arsenal. Again, no offence to Brentford when I say bigger club, but I mean a regular top 6, top 4 team. He is ready for that level to try and get more England appearances as well. I'm sure he'd be willing to take that step up. Obviously, this is all dependent on what happens to him in the whole court case situation, but if that all works out and he doesn't get much of a ban, or at least gets a small ban, he scored goals in the Premier League. I think if you're looking at a realistic transfer that could actually work and help Chelsea's team, Toney could be the man. Now, they accepted £40 million here. I genuinely think if Brentford did sell him in real life, it would be for more than that. A clinical finisher, England international, plenty of ability, and still years to get better yet in the Prem. And even though he's 27, I feel like he's only just about to hit his prime in the Premier League. So I've gone for him. He is going to be our striker. No matter what the star ratings say, I think he could be our man. The final thing to note as well, I used the editor to bring in Christopher Nkunku. We had the money to do so, but I just thought I'd bring him in, as Chelsea have already done in real life. It's just not confirmed fully. I think there was literally something this weekend where the Leipzig manager confirmed that he's joined Chelsea pretty much. So we've paid his release clause here in the in-game world, 56 million. Does he really suit what Chelsea need? I'm not sure, but instead of keeping João Felix on loan for another year or buying him, I think Nkunku takes his role as a second striker, false 9 type player that Chelsea needed in their side. So we've brought him in, as I'm sure they will in real life, and that is now our squad done. This is roughly how I'd set the side up. I know Pochettino often favours a 4-3-3, but you could easily see him changing that to have someone like Nkunku, who I've stuck out wide here, but realistically, he's going to play more in a central position in real life. The same way that there's not really an exact place for Kai Havertz in this formation. Obviously, there'll be multiple systems that Chelsea play, and I feel like having that second striker, the way that Dele Alli did for a number of years for Spurs under Pochettino, that's going to be your Nkunku Havertz role. But just as a rough 4-3-3, not bothered about the exact roles and whatnot, but this is the kind of thing I can see Chelsea setting up with long term. I feel like this team is a lot more balanced. You can see there's less players in the squad. I can't scroll down on the team anymore, which is nice. And if we highlight all of these, how many have we got? 27 people in the squad. I believe in real life, the current number is something like 40. So it's insane that we've whittled it down so much. And I feel like we've done a great job of it. But let's see how this team can do. I feel like the idea of this team is to win things over the next 5 years as opposed to instantly, with so many good young players in the team. But we'll see how we get on in our one season rebuild. Can we make a difference to Chelsea Football Club? And you know what? It's not the biggest success in the world, but I'm going to class it as, yes, we definitely did the job, because despite being rubbish in the cups again, the Europa League we have gone and won 4-1 in the final, beating Napoli to that title, and the Premier League we've got back in a UCL spot, and the 3 teams ahead of us in the league I personally feel are ahead of us in terms of squad. Man City, Liverpool, great squads, great players, same with Manchester United, so I don't feel like 4th place is a terrible start. If we were to go on for another few years as this team got better and the young players improved, I could see us rising up that table, but to finish 10 points off a league title, it's a far cry from where Chelsea are right now on, what is it, like 39 points I believe we're currently on. Insane to think about. 74 points here. We've managed to calm the waters a little bit. Let's take a look. Ivan Toney, he played 17 times and scored 15 goals. I believe he might have had an injury issue based on the fact that his stamina is so low here. Something must have happened to him during the season, but he did score goals. Nkunku had an okay year, not the best. He was being used out of position most of the time, so I'm not going to really blame him too much. I think if he comes to Chelsea in real life, he'll play in a much different role to what I had him in here. Edson Alvarez did okay, slightly struggled in the Premier League, but it's his first year here. We're not expecting instant results, and he also had to compete with N'Golo Kante, who more often than not was taking that defensive midfield position when we simulated, because I did simulate the season. I holidayed, I didn't play it myself. And then Diego Costa in goal was great between the sticks, saving plenty of shots, only conceding 37 across the course of the Premier League season. So we gave ourselves a year at Chelsea Chelsea, we managed to thin the herd in the squad, bring through the young players a little bit more and sign some players that I felt we needed. I think it's helped the team a lot and we've ended up winning the Europa League and qualifying for the UCL. Tried to keep the transfers as realistic as possible, but let me know what you changed down below. Do you agree with any of my transfers? Do you hate some of them? And who would you like to see rebuilt next? Hopefully you have enjoyed. Smash the like button if you have, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.